Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another episode of QG Diaries, a program on Quranology Television QGTV. Today is day 29 of Ramadan 2015 and it may actually be the last day. So if so, happy Eid for tomorrow. Today, as I said, I promised something a little special, and it is kind of special because it's ironic that I would end with this question. The question I hope to pose today is, what are Sawm, fasting, and Ramadan as far as my understanding of Quran? Obviously, in traditional Islam, fasting is one of the pillars, and traditional Muslims practice fasting 1 month out of every year. I see the passage in question. That's chapter 2, verses 183 to 187. So 5 verses. And in these 5 verses, what I see is a cycle of discipline and relaxation. We have to begin with, I believe you start with verse 168, which is an address to mankind. And it tells mankind to look after their consumptions. So they are to consume from the wholesome and don't follow the path of shaitan. This is in subsequent calls to that. So when you come to 183, it shows you how to guard your consumption. So when you guard your consumption, you guard your lifestyle, this aids you in producing that peak society. And this is something which we need to consider, that Sawm, fasting, or abstention or discipline is something in which the results can be seen now. It is not a disconnected act in which you only see the thawab or the spiritual blessings in the next life. That's not what Sawm is, in my understanding. Why do I believe so? Well, the one thing, the context, and this is something which I feel is always ignored, that's the context. What is the theme of the chapter? The theme of the chapter, as far as I understand, is the building of the utopian conditions of humankind, the garden on the earth, the fulfilling state. And one of the key aspects of that is Sawm, or fasting, where we control our consumptions. And you can see in society when we overconsume, and human beings do that all the time. We easily overconsume, me included. And I can see the detriment which it brings to me. Hence, with controlled consumption, we can actually reverse that trend and be at a peak state. That's my understanding conceptually of what Sawm is. If we analyze the passage, what can we find? Well, the first thing I can see is that verse 183 has no condition stated. It's essentially Kutiba alaykumus siyam. Written upon you is a siyam, or fast, or the discipline or abstention. And it was written for those before you, that you may preserve yourself. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, that you may preserve yourselves. Again, it goes back to the integrity of our physical body as well as our spirit. Verse 184 talks about the exceptional clauses. So obviously, if you're traveling, if you're sick, you can't do it in other periods. Ayyamin ukhra, the phrases. Another thing is, the phrase ayyami ma'dudat is usually translated as a set number of days. But ayyam can be periods, and ma'dudat in my reading comes from the word idda, which means to prepare. The Quran says idda, prepared, you see? So it is a period of preparation. We are supposed to prepare. Another thing it says is, for those who are capable, they should feed, or they should give nourishment to the stagnant. ta'ami miskin. So when they do this, they're fasting, so they redirect their resources, which are normally used for their own consumption, to the others. Now, obviously, this is a difficult process. This is not something easy. I mean, I know missing meals, they simply don't help. They're quite painful. But when doing this, we attain that particular state in which Allah says is khair. It increases our choice. So we follow this course until we reach something called Shahru Ramadan. And Shahru Ramadan, in my understanding, is an obvious state of trials and tribulations. The literal word is scorching. So you can feel the scorching heat, if you like. When you feel that scorching heat, you can't take it anymore. It's really pushing you hard. Then you have reached Shahru Ramadan. When you have reached Shahru Ramadan, there will be a measure of Quran descended on you. So Allah will give you a certain understanding of revelation. He will give you progress, hudal linnas, for actually everyone, for people around you. And He will give you clarification from the guidance, bayinat min al-huda, and al-furqan, a criteria. So in that measure, He will show you what's right and what's wrong. This is in fact the two threads, which we will come to a bit later on. So that is the state in which you know your fast has been effective. So that's what Allah says, whoever فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمْ الشَّهْرَ, whoever from you has witnessed this state, فَلْيَصُمْهُ. So he is fasting. He has done it. He's reached that peak, in other words. Or rather, he is doing it. So at that point, we move on to verse 186, in which Allah shows that He is close to you at that time. When my servants ask concerning me, say, I am close. This is something which people quote usually, but they don't quote the context. This is snapped in the middle of the Ramadan passage or the Psalm passage. Yeah, people say, well, God is always close to you. He's not. Sometimes He's distant from you, but it's all your own doing. So if you lead a life of discipline and hard abstention, yes, He will be close to you. So at that point, when you have reached Shahru Ramadan, we move on to verse 187. That's when Allah says, "Uhilla lakum laylata siyam." So it has now been made available for you the night of the fast. That's the literal meaning. I see it as a period in which you are not fasting. And the thing which is made available to you is the opposite of fasting, which is rafath. Rafath is to interact, to engage with. So you are engaging now with those who are not fasting. So in other words, you are interacting with them in various ways. Maybe you're feasting, you're having fun, etc. So that is your rest period. And this is something which Allah knows that you need. So Allah knows that you used to betray yourselves, and now He has turned to you and forgiven you, if you like. And when this happens, Allah says to seek what has been written on you. So it is now written on you that you need to enjoy yourself. We don't have to live like monks 24/7. And then Allah says to do this until the two threads have been made distinct. Yeah, the white thread has been made from distinct from the black thread from Al-Fajr. Meaning, now the Al-Fajr is the period where you have now passed through that night. And the two threads have been made distinct. The two ways of life, Al-Furqan has separated them. You can see it. And that's when you have to start the discipline once again. It is a cycle. And this cycle, Allah says that do not engage, do not give this pleasure, engage in this pleasure state when you are akifuna fil masajid. Meaning that you are engaged with this particular system. So it has to be distinct. The black thread and the white thread, they have to be distinct. You have to lead a disciplined life until such time you can't handle it, and then you will have that pleasure and engagement. So this is essentially what I understand by Sawm. Tomorrow, if it's not Eid, I will talk about the Sawm of Maryam, which I feel is a reflection of this. Many thanks for your viewership this whole month. Eid al-Mubarak, and inshallah see you for future videos. Bye.